Hello, everybody. How are y'all? See.
I think I'm here.
Turn. Say that again.
I said, I think I'm here.
I know that feeling. Good to see you on, Paula. How are you doing?
This is Paula.
It's good to see you online. We will get started here in just a couple minutes.
This is Sue Taylor. Good evening, everybody.
Hey, Miss Sue, how are you doing?
Okay, Chris, how you doing?
Doing pretty good.
I'm glad I got the right numbers.
Oh, that's why. Go ahead, Mary. Chris,
Yes.
this is Eva Cook.
Good to see, or virtually see you, Eva.
All right. And Mary Coleman.
Betty Fant.
All right, I've got 6:30, but I'll give it like 2 more minutes to let latecomers come in. Hey, Joe, how are you?
Doing good. How are you?
Making it.
Great.
Dale, I thought I saw you pop up there, but then your hat went away. All right. So, 1 more minute just in case anybody else wants to join.
Well, it's been a long time, I tell you that.
Is there a way we can?
I'm glad we're meeting.
Is there a way we can see each other?
Well, this is Sue Taylor, and I'm on the phone, so that you can't see me. But I recognize voices and names. But again, mine is just on the telephone.
Yeah.
Besides, you wouldn't want to see me now.
Betty Fant, you don't want to see me either.
Well, I'm
we
sure y'all
get
don't want to see me, but well, we will go ahead and get started. Welcome everybody. Happy New Year. We'll get started with our pledge. Does it show the whole background?
It does.
Okay, I just my little preview only shows me down in the bushes, so I wanted to make sure everything was displaying right. So, I pledge allegiance to the flag
To the
of the
flag
United
of the
States of
United States of
America
America,
and to the
The
republic
republic
for which it
for
stands,
which it stands,
one nation,
one
under God,
nation,
indivisible,
Under
under
God,
with
God,
liberty and justice for all.
indivisible,
indivisible,
with
with
liberty
liberty
and justice for all.
and justice for all.
Yeah. So, yes, Miss Sue, it's been a while since we've seen each other. And I wanted to start this meeting off. This meeting is going to be a session for us. Good to see you joining, Abby. Let's see, I want to make sure I see Abby. I know Jeremy Jones. Both of our executive committee people are on here. Paula, our executive committee alternate woman. I don't see Randy. Um, I don't see. I don't see. No.
I think I'm on the executive committee, Sue Taylor.
Well, this is state executive committee.
Oh,
We've
okay.
got Macaulay, who is our third vice chair. I see Kat Kennedy, who is our treasurer. And previous chairs, we've got Joe Madge and Betty Fant on that I see right now.
Yeah.
So, I wanted to have a little family discussion with everybody. We're going to talk about some of the news of the day, of the week, of the month, but wanted us to have a little family discussion. Um, First of all, what was that? Okay. First of all, it's good to see all of you. Yes, Miss Sue was saying it's been since December since we had our last meeting. Um, we went over the election results as of that last meeting, and it was the numbers were very disappointing, but the numbers are what they are. So, my goal for the next year is to start preparing this party for 2024. So, December was a really rough month for me. I had a lot of illnesses in December, had some family things go on. I had more family stuff. Matter of fact, my cousin had a stroke last week. Thankfully, she's gotten out of the hospital finally, and so life is hectic for us all, and we've talked about this before, but I need a strong Democratic Party to back me up as chair. And since our last meeting, I asked folks, hey, one way to support, even if it's $1 a month, please give a monthly donation so we can start budgeting. I mentioned in that meeting also that we have this web store, but we're not really using it. And since December, it's been 2 months. We haven't had a sale from the web store. Um, Joe Madge couldn't do it all. I can't do it all. Randy Harrell couldn't do it all. Thank goodness I've got some good officers because They are the ones, Abby, Kat, I'm going to get myself in trouble if I go beyond that and saying how many people helped for the rally. But that's one of the things that the state party has presented to the state executive committee, um, number one. And then I think it was like 2 weekends ago, we had a county party chairs meeting and they presented the election results to us then as well. And it was, even though they were being kind about it, it was a glowing indictment on how little statewide our county parties are actually doing to help turn out the vote. And their part about that was not trying to chastise us, but they wanted to encourage us to start getting ready for 2024 so that we have a volunteer base, so that we can make the telephone calls, so that we can get data back in to Vote Builder. You know, so I want this to be a fairly open discussion about where we're going in 2023 and 2024. But before I get to that, I do want, if you haven't heard, as of this weekend, the Democratic National Convention or Committee has said we would be the first primary in the nation. Through this last year, I've tried to prepare the Lexington party and thinking about structuring our yearly calendar such that it is conducive to allowing candidates to come in and potentially even give us money. Um, so, first in the nation happened. What is that going to do? Well, first of all, it's going to raise the profile of South Carolina. We already have a pretty good profile of being the first in the South, but being first in the nation, there's a little something. I'm sure everybody on this call has heard of the Iowa State Fair. It's just because it gets into political lore and then it goes into mainstream media. So there are going to be some traditions and things in South Carolina that elevate, and hopefully that'll be for the good. Hopefully that will start bringing money in from these candidates, money in from the DNC, and maybe, just maybe, we can have some resources that actually back us to make some of these changes that the state party has asked us as county parties to do. Um, there's a lot of ideas that they've been bouncing back and forth. County party chairs have been bouncing. So I think being first in the nation is going to be a good thing for South Carolina. And I think if Lexington does kind of go in the direction that we've been going, that our calendar is very favorable to capitalize on all of these campaigns. Now, mind you, the elephant in the room, 2024. Yeah, we have this honor of being first in the nation, and there may not even be a primary in 2024. But at least that gives us time to prepare for a hotly contested primary. Um, the next thing is there any questions that anybody has about being first in the nation?
How will our pay This is Kathy. I would like to know if we're first in the nation and we have New Hampshire giving pushback, and they decide to change their date to, for their primary, how will that affect South Carolina?
Okay, good question. Um, the technical answer is there's nothing that we can legally do to stop them. That is a state law that they have, that they are to be the first primary in the nation. Iowa being a caucus, Iowa didn't violate New Hampshire's state law. So by state law, they have to be the first primary in the nation. So as it stands, unless New Hampshire changes their primary process in their state law, they could very well hopscotch South Carolina. If you all remember, in 2008, we had that go on. There was a lot of hopscotching that states were trying to do, and the DNC said, "Wait a minute, y'all. Wait, we have a calendar. Y'all can't do this." And the states kept doing it. It ended up bumping South Carolina's primary. I think. I think. Yeah, they definitely put it into their state constitution, Marcurius, that they would be the first primary in the nation. So, the DNC, what the DNC did back then, I think it even pushed Iowa and New Hampshire into um, that December of 2027, if mine serves me. But what the DNC did then and what the DNC will do to New Hampshire if it does now, they threatened to take away delegates at the national convention, and that also takes away the ability for any, um, since there's no delegates, New Hampshire would not be able to nominate a candidate for president. Um, yeah, that's right. It would definitely require a state constitutional amendment, Brandon, for New Hampshire to change that. So, long answer into we really don't know what New Hampshire's going to do right now. They could opt to abide by DNC rules. They could split their primary. There will be a lot that needs to be worked out. The other thing this weekend, um, while Georgia was passed to be in this set of first states, Georgia has adamantly said we're not doing that. We're staying with South Carolina being first in the South. So there's still some legalese going on. There's still some jockeying, but that final vote of approving South Carolina to be the first in the nation, a vote which hasn't happened since I think it was 2004 when they came up with the what would have been the calendar: Iowa, New Hampshire, Nevada, and then South Carolina. So it's been almost 20 years since they um since we are since we have made a change like this. Um did do I is somebody asking a question? I thought I heard something else. Well, Laurie, that's a good question. Laurie said, all good to be first, but who's going to run that we can nominate and get to the finish line? That's something that's part of this family conversation I want us to have, and it's going on in every county party. It's going on at the state party level too. Um, there is a debate going on. How do you don't want people to run, or you don't want elections to go unopposed, but do you want good candidates? And there's a lot of juggling right now, and there's a lot of conversation that needs to still be had on a good strategy to get us across that finish line. That's a very good question, and we have the possibility. um, we've got Marcurius from the Richland party on this call. Marcurius was the campaign manager for Judd. We'll get to that subject in a minute. Um, but he saw the data. He saw the data that there are some pockets of Lexington County that are promising. And just like Lexington County, there are some pockets of South Carolina that are promising. If we do a better job in the presentation I gave in December, if we do a better job of educating our voters, getting out there and really not only turning out our base, but start talking to some of those people that maybe we don't always talk to, we have a possibility of starting to turn this red tide more into something that looks purple. Because I'm like all of you, we put in all of this hard work, we give all of this money, and it never seems to get us anywhere. It just feels like we're spinning our um, um, spinning our wheels. So, Kat, where does this leave with the SADP chair? Where does it leave us? I hear a young man named Brandon Upson is planning to run against Trav. I don't know if that is true, but Brandon is on this call. And I will let him, if he wants to say whether that is his intention or not. I can only tell you a couple of
Excuse me,
weeks
Chair.
ago, I asked Trav what his intentions were, and he said he wanted to wait until after the DNC vote this past weekend before he announced his intentions. So, as of right now, Trav hasn't released that information.
Chair.
Abby,
Hello.
are you there, Abby?
Yeah, I have a question before you move on.
Okay.
Are you talking about what the state party can do, or what Lexington County can do pertaining to voters, bringing people in and all?
It's honestly, it's both.
Okay.
Yeah,
I know this is all in the past, but when we had Joe, his wife, Julie, did a lot of going out and bringing people in. If we have more people like that that's willing to go out there and knock on doors, because the doors she knocked on, some people wouldn't have knocked on them. I'm just going to be up front with you. If we had more Julies out there, that would help Lexington County.
I agree 100%. 100%.
And that's all I'm
And
going to say about Lexington County. I don't know anything about the state party, but that's all I'm going to say about Lexington County.
yeah, it very good point. Very good point. And that's the thing that Marcurius again could tell you, that he and Judd, when they were out canvassing Lexington, um, they would go into areas that we wouldn't traditionally talk, like the Red Bank area. Traditionally, the the closer you are to West Columbia, Red Bank is um, a little more democratic. I'm gonna move. I'm looking at y'all's pictures, which makes me continuously look down. Um, so you're right. We definitely need, and my goal is over the next couple of months to create a strategic plan for 2024. And part of that strategic plan will be to identify people like Julie who do a great job of knocking on doors. Same thing. I know Miss Miss Sue has offered plenty of times to, if we have a list, to call on that list and make those voter contacts via phone call, because she's not physically able to get out and do the door knocking right now. So,
and Chris, can I say this? Oh, this is Sue speaking. We have a whole list, as I understand it, of precinct leaders that I'm not sure how they are, how involved they can be, or how they are, and whether they can be more involved. But it seems to me that that's a list already that's available, or should have been, of precinct leaders that perhaps could be roped in if they had more to do, or were asked more to do, or could be used in some kind of way. The existing list of precinct leaders, that's what I'm talking about now, and how they could be helpful.
Right. So, one of the things I did breeze over when I was briefly talking about the challenges I faced personally the last couple of months, I never thought that I would be without transportation as long as I have been, but thankfully, hopefully by the end of the month, I'm going to have a new to me car, at least a car that can get around town and whatnot, and can start having more regular in-person meetings with people like precinct leaders, like all that. I know I like Zoom. Zoom has its place, but those in-person meetings and in-person trainings, I think, are good for things like that. So hopefully that challenge is about to be met too. But yes, we do have those precinct leaders, and one of the discussions the officers and I had, Kat is really interested in precinct organization and things like that. So when we develop our strategic plan, that's honestly, those precinct leaders are going to be the foundation of what ends up being our GOTV plan. So yes, very good comment.
Thank you.
And Brandon, do you want a second to?
Yes, please.
Okay.
How you doing? Thank you, Chris. And I know you mentioned it earlier about I might be thinking about running for chair. And this weekend, myself and Mary Guerin and Melina Rodello and Erica Sampson, we announced that we will be running for party leadership as a slate, mainly because, it's time for us to start strengthening our county parties, getting our grassroots political infrastructure in place, start raising money so that we can have a statewide coordinated campaign, and really position ourselves to start winning again. I know some people know me because I've been running campaigns across the state for the last 13 years. Before that, I served 11 years in the United States Army as a nuclear, chemical, biological, and radiological specialist and a combat engineer. But I'm looking to bring all my energy and attention to our party. Just some simple stuff like, Chris, you weren't expecting to be without transportation, but we have folks in rural communities who haven't had transportation for years, and they're executive committee members that can't make it to Columbia for an executive committee meeting. So their counties are being done a disservice because we're not simply using the technology that we've become accustomed to since the pandemic and hosting hybrid meetings. I believe that all of our counties should have the ability to advocate for what they need. And the last thing I would say is, 2022, there was a lot of, blame going around, but I don't believe it should sit on the shoulders of our county parties. The real question is, what can we do better to strengthen and support our county parties? So our team, we call ourselves South Carolina Forward Together, because we're trying to unify our party and move forward into a more prosperous future. That's also the name of our website, southcarolinaforwardtogether.com. And you can see our entire slate and our entire platform on there. But I know I saw Mary Guerin and Erica Sampson on the call when I first got on. Not sure if they're still on.
Yeah, I see Erica. Let's see. I don't see Mary. But
yeah, they're two members of the slate. And we just ask everyone to give us an opportunity to share our ideas with you. I want to put my personal cell phone number in the chat. If you have any questions for me or want to have a conversation, you can call me. And I look forward to having that conversation because, we don't have all the answers, but I know we do have the experience to help, create the South Carolina Democratic Party and the infrastructure that we need to move forward.
And what office are you running for, Brandon?
Hey, Miss Sue, how you doing?
Fine, thank you. Good to hear. And would you give your phone number? Because I don't have access to a lot of things.
Yes, ma'am. I can actually text you, but my number is
No, don't. Just give it to me now. Say, because somebody else may have the same need. What's your phone number?
843
843
300
300
76
76
48.
48. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sue will be calling, right?
Yes, ma'am. And I'm running for chair.
What are you running for?
I'm running for chair of the South Carolina Democratic Party.
Who's that now? Oh, that Trav now?
Yes, ma'am. That's Trav. And Trav is a good friend of mine, and we've had no less than 14 conversations about this before I made up my mind. But, at the end of the day, we've lost over 60 Democratic incumbents around the state, and we have a long way to go to fix some of the other structural issues that we have, including, getting our party out of debt and starting to raise money again. Also supporting our county parties. The reason why being first in the South was such a pivotal and great opportunity for our state was because being first in the South brings attention to you and brings money and resources to your state to help you build out your state party. Now, as us being first in the nation, there's even more resources that we could tap into to build out our party. But unfortunately, even with having a very competitive 2019, 2020 presidential primary, and then having an amazing U.S. Senate race, we don't have a lot of things, tangible things that we can touch and say, this is the organization that was left over for us to run competitive campaigns from. There's no foundation or political infrastructure that we can even deploy to turn out voters where it counts. And my question that I ask is, how can we expect to win a gubernatorial race when we're having a really hard time winning city council races? So we have a lot of work to do.
Hi, Brandon. This is Abby Cook, Lexington County Democrat woman.
Yes, ma'am. How you doing?
I'm doing fine. I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
who had input on us getting first in the nation? Who went and spoke up for us to get first in the nation?
Yeah, so our
Oh, I know who
coalition
that
of
is.
delegates. Oh, say it again. Okay, so our coalition that went up there, our DNC members, to include Clay Middleton, Carol Fowler, Bree Maxwell, also Kay Kuntz, and then our executive team that included both Trav, Jay, and Jay. They all went up there and advocated for us. And then there was a whole host of other allies around the country that were members of the DNC that believed that this should happen. But it would not have happened if the president himself didn't say that he wanted to elevate
Absolutely.
voices of the Black community, not just, further down the line, but at the beginning. And that's what really inspired me, because I believe that if we want to elevate Black voices, we should also elevate Black leadership and create opportunities for the real big tent to be personified in how we operate. And if you look at our slate, I believe it is a big tent slate. I'm obviously an African-American man, but then Mary Guerin from Anderson, South Carolina, is a white woman who ran for Congress and serves that community strongly. Melina Rodello is a Mexican-American, first generation. When she's elected, she will be the very first Hispanic or Latinx person to ever serve in our statewide leadership, which is historic. And then Erica Sampson, who is still on, I can't see on the call, but she's a young Black woman, single mother, who is an advocate and activist down in the Low Country. And she's actually the president of the Young Democrats of the Low Country. So we are really, really excited about this opportunity, and we're excited to speak to you and earn every single vote that we can get.
And while I've got you and your attention, we probably will have, well, I know we need to have a business meeting in March, but our next regular meeting like this is April 17th at 6:30. Can you and the Forward Together gang be our featured speaker?
I'll commit to that right now. What date is that again?
April 17th.
April the 17th.
Yes, I'm going to send it to my campaign manager now.
Okay. And I'll make sure offline to get in contact with you too with more details, but just wanted to pin that down. And that's really what we as a party, county party, we as a party, state party, we as a party, national party, we need to do. We really need. There's a question in the chat about how can South Carolina Democratic Party grab back the positive conversation on economic gains in the last 2 years. I think that's a big misstep, even nationally, that we're not doing enough. And if you want to specifically get back down to locally, we need to be tying, okay, this project on this road in Lexington County is because of the infrastructure bill that Biden signed. Those are the kinds of things in messaging, and you can trust every time I get in front of the county party chairs, I'm like, we've got to get on to messaging. We've got to get on to messaging. And my line is Republicans will fall in line and Democrats fall apart. Until we make some of these gains, we need to show every little success that we have out there, and we need to stick to those successes, which is a good way to segue to the next topic I was going to talk about, is our Democratic defections. And trust me, I've heard enough on every side. I could write a book with it, but this is my perspective. There was a really big article that came out about Senator Mia McLeod leaving the Democratic Party because of
Yes, I saw that.
her perception of lack of support from the party. Here more locally, Judd has decided that um, I don't know if it's written in stone, but he has been courted by the Republican Party to potentially go over there. That's the crux of the problem. We've got to support. Not only do we need quality candidates, we do need, and forgive the vernacular, but we need butts in the seats. Yeah, we need names on the ballot, but to what expense? Just because you've got a choice on the ballot, it might not be a good choice. So we do need to start having conversations today about candidates to run in 2024, not conversations at the beginning of 2024. We need to be having them now. Thankfully, I got an email this past week. I have not responded yet to it, but I did have somebody reach out that is interested in running to oppose Joe Wilson. So I wanna get in contact with that person and have a one-on-one with them. So, we do, as a county party, I think we do a pretty good job. I had a few officers that had to restrain me a little bit because I did want to help Judd, because Judd was out in the streets. Marcurius, you want to talk about people that are knocking on doors. Marcurius, I keep on telling him I want him to move across the river, get away from Richland County, come to us because we can certainly use him. And that's the kind of energy that we need. We typically do support our candidates as best as we can, but I will tell you, I made fundraising requests for Peggy Butler a lot, and she finally I got upset at me because I'm like, Peggy, I have asked them to give you money. If they're not giving you money, I can't help that. you know. So we as a party, once we do have somebody on the ballot, we need to support them. Now, what I would do personally, if I was in Senator McLeod's chair or if I was in Judge's chair, that's what I would do personally. But as a county party chair, all I can do is commit us to do a better job in supporting the candidates that we do have, because I'm like all of you. I'm tired of seeing all of these unopposed elections. Um, yes, Dave, and you've got some really good comments. That is one thing in this last county party chairs meeting that we did say about messaging. You know, they suggested us getting out, meeting. There was a question. I'm sorry, I went past it. About, yeah, Dave, it was the first part of your question earlier about getting the young people involved. That is something I have beat my head. How can we get the young people involved? Got Macaulay on the call with us as third vice chair. She's engaged the kids at River Bluff High. We've made that connection. I Every time I'm in front of them, I'm like, I need your email addresses. I need to be able to get in contact with you. But, SCDP says, let's meet them where they are. So, TikTok, all of this. And one suggestion that was given is, hey, SCDP, you have the expertise in creating some of this content. Create a content package and give it to us so we can post it on our local social media. So hopefully some of those steps to meet the young people where they are, to get that word out, hopefully that's about to happen. Is there any questions about or any concerns about these Democrats, sometimes like Senator McLeod, long-term Democrats leaving the party?
Again, this is Sue Taylor. It might be a good idea, if we haven't done it already, to be in touch with some of the colleges, i.e. there's Allen, there's Benedict, all of the black colleges especially, and maybe, there's a way to get in touch with the University of, and invite, they're usually general organization presidents, or some group within the college that we could get to and invite to come to the meetings. I don't know if that's possible or not, but it seems to me it's a possibility if somebody knows how to get a hold of them.
Right. Yeah, and that's our challenge here in Lexington. Hold on. Let's make sure I'm not. Okay, I think whoever muted. That's our challenge in Lexington. We're a bedroom community to all of the universities that are in, all of the colleges that are in Richland County. But yes, we still need to get in contact with those college politically active students, because yes, they will be the ones. College students not going to listen to me, a 44-year-old, and how I think they ought to vote. And I see your hand, Marcurius. I was about to make a comment, so good segue. And one thing that the Young Democrats of the Central Midlands has started doing, they've started naming a dedicated monthly meeting at the SCDP headquarters, which is a wonderful idea, and I am trying my best to put it on our social media. So any young Democrat out there that sees our feed will hopefully get in contact with the Young Democrats. Marcurius?
Sorry, I was trying to unmute. Yeah, I just wanted to also add to that. Our Young Democrats meeting is open. So don't just you can invite somebody, but also say, I'll come with you as a young person, if that's like a family member as well, because we welcome everybody to our meeting. And that's one way to ensure that they get in contact with people. You show up too and come to the meeting, have a discussion with us, because one thing that's also helpful is us to have cross-generational conversations. So just because it's a Young Dem meeting, y'all hearing what the Young Dems are talking about can help come up with ways to get more young people to come to meetings. Also, I did want to let y'all know as well, the Drinking Liberally Columbia chapter is being restarted. And so there will be a social activity happening downtown for happy hours that you can invite people to come to as well or go to. And that's going to be on the first Tuesday of each month at Hickory Tavern, downtown Columbia. So you can invite people out to that, have food, mix and mingle with people of all ages as well.
Mr. Chair?
Yeah.
Can I add something to that?
Hold on just a minute. Richard, do you have your physical hand up?
I do.
Yeah, let Richard go and then Jeremy.
Okay, so in the 10 or 12 years I've been doing this, we've had 6 or 7 people, 6 people, 5 people, somewhere like that, run against Joe Wilson. People who essentially nobody has ever heard of. They run against Joe Wilson for whatever reasons, increase their law practice, to do whatever, and they get absolutely nowhere. And the fact of the matter is, at least in my humble opinion, anybody that's going to beat Joe Wilson has got to be somebody who is known in Lexington and South Carolina politics. So when these people come in all happy to beat Joe Wilson, maybe you ought to pull them aside and say, that's a great idea. Why don't you run for county council? That's a great idea. Why don't you get on the school board? That's a great idea. Why don't you go around and meet people and go and speak and get known and come back in 2 years? Because I'm just kind of tired of these one-hit wonders coming and taking our money and getting slaughtered. It's just not doing us any good, and we're not getting anywhere with it. So my idea is that if we're going to recruit somebody or find somebody to beat Joe Wilson, that's got to be somebody who's already won a race somewhere in Lexington County or somewhere in this, so that people know them. If we get people just coming off the wall, we're wasting our time and we're wasting our money. We have maybe tell them run against him as a Republican. That's my level of frustration.
Yeah, and I share that with you, Richard. And matter of fact, what I'm about to say is based off of a conversation you and I have had. In our 2024 strategic plan, there's 2 places that I want to target in Lexington County. Number 1 is House District 89. House District 89 is very winnable. If we put the time, if we put the effort in West Columbia, we possibly could win that. And I've said several times that the House Democratic Caucus wanted to get behind a candidate if we had had a candidate for House District 89. So Richard's idea, and I agreed with him at the time, and I still agree with him. Until we start winning, let's get behind one effort that we can focus on as a party and start actually getting some wins to build that morale, to know what it feels like to actually have a Democrat that represents us, and then start focusing on the large part. The other area that I want to focus on is the area of Irmo. Anything along I-26, anything that hugs I-26 is ripe for the picking for us to educate our voters, turn them out, get new voters registered, and potentially start making some difference there. In House District 85, one of the county council or city councilman of Irmo wants to run for a House District 85. So those are 2 races that I really want to focus on for 2024. And to your point, Richard, I still have not had the conversation with Judd. Hopefully we can have this conversation. But my thought was, hey, you did such a good job in organizing in the West Columbia area. Why don't we drop back, run for House District 89, get you a win, and in the General Assembly, and then in 2026 run against Joe Wilson again, something like that. So those are the kinds of plans that I hope to start having, because you're right. I'm the one-hit wonders are just not, they're not even topping the charts. So
I come back. I've told this story before. I first met Joe Wilson at the whatever that festival is in July in 1982, I believe. And at that time, he was running for Congress. Well, Floyd Spence was a congressman, but Joe was running for Congress. And Joe waited out until he got an opportunity to get in the House, and he waited out until he got an opportunity to get in the state Senate. And then when Floyd Spence finally went his way, he ran for Congress. And he was well known by then. And if you're going to get to Congress in Lexington County, in this district, you're going to have to start from the bottom. You're going to have to start running now and hoping you get to see in 20 years. My humble opinion.
I agree 100% with that. 100%
Yeah, no doubt about it.
All right, Mr. Chair, can I now?
Yes, Jeremy.
Okay,
Hey, Chris.
So
Hold on just a second, Dave. Jeremy's got the floor.
Okay.
all right, hey everybody. This is Jeremy Jones, Executive Committee Man, who also is in Young Democrats of Central Midlands. So right now, we had our January meeting last month, and right now, I believe what we said is that we have about 16,000, I believe. Don't count me on this, but we have 16,000 young Democrats that can be able to come into the party, and Young Democrats of the Central Midlands. And right now, we're working on Richland and Lexington counties to do a phone bank to actually phone bank those Democrats who are young people, so that they can know that we're here. We also have an organization, we have meetings, and then we have county parties, and kind of educating them about the party and what we've been doing, and kind of easing them into Young Democrats, and then saying, hey, here we are. Here's the county party as well. Come help us, spread the love and spread the message, because these are actual voters that have voted before.
Yeah. And I believe, if I remember, either you or Marcurius, that next meeting is this coming Thursday. I guess it would be tomorrow.
Thursday at 6.
Thursday at 6. I do plan on, if I can make it, due to the transportation issue. Jeremy, are you planning on going?
Yes, I'm going to be there. I come to most all the meetings, like I come to Lexington County Dems meetings of all kind. I will be there. If you need me to come pick you up,
Yeah.
and take you there, I'll be able to come pick you up, because it's right now, we're in the process of rebuilding Young Democrats of the Central Midlands, so that we can get some of those 16,000 Democrats in Lexington, and also the over 30,000, I believe, in Richland County, to just have to not even be able to make room in there, so that we can have a bigger space.
Right.
So we're trying to build Young Democrats of Central Midlands, and I think that right now we have a plan, and hopefully you guys, some of you can come join us and listen to what we have to say, and then come help us phone bank some of these young people. We can teach you how to phone bank and talk to the young generation who are coming up, because it's not just 18-year-olds that are. It's not just 18-year-olds. It's people who work and everything else in these areas. So it's not just 18-year-olds who just in college. So we're trying to.
Let's move to Dave, and then
Okay.
Erica wasn't able to unmute herself. I'll give her a brief minute to introduce herself. We won't on this meeting, we won't have the library telling us they're closing in 30 minutes, but I don't want to make this call extremely long, and we do have some other things I want to touch on. So Dave?
Only that during the elections, I noticed that even though South Carolina is definitely a red state, the GOP takes the messages, they base their messages around cultural values. They heat up the campaigns, and they keep these messages really simple. They don't even try to complicate it, and they grab voters' emotions, and the voters vote out of fear or anxiety. And that's not a good way
And
to
hate.
and hate. I agree.
Right. I mean,
and they grab any issue that's a national issue and localize it, and then I agree, they beat people like Judd, and Judd I really admired him. I really liked him because he stood up and said what he thought, and he was an activist. But it makes me sick when I see this time and time again. I think we need a simple message.
Right. I agree. And
that's it.
You know, one of the things that I took away from the Clyburn Fellowship is when they go over messaging, they talk about the story of Lee Atwater. And really, the modern Republican Party, if you haven't studied it and you really want to get historically, politically nerdy and study it, the modern Republican Party is basically a product of what Lee Atwater started 50 years ago. And it's all about that simple message.
Absolutely.
Defund the police. 3 words. Defund the police. You know, and we sit there as a response trying to give this whole soliloquy of why we're not talking about defund the police, and all they have to do is say defund the police. So yes, that's one thing that I have had with a conversation that I've had with my counterparts and with those at the state party level. Hopefully we can start as a party getting that message more succinct so that it is more understandable, it is more relatable. Hey, that pothole that just got fixed over there because you just had that road resurfaced, the money from that came from the infrastructure, Rebuild America, something like that. You know, don't get caught up in the weeds. So, Erica, I'm going to let you introduce yourself real quick.
Hi, everyone. My name is Erica Sampson. Glad to see all your faces on this Zoom call tonight. I reside in North Charleston, the Low Country, and like many of you have already highlighted many things on my talking points. I am the chair of the Low Country Young Dems. So I represent the Charleston, Berkeley, and Dorchester County areas. And so I oversee all of that. We do fun activities. We have game nights, we have karaoke nights, we are outside, boots on the ground marching. So it's like a collaborative efforts of, I call it business and casual, you know, having fun and still keeping it business at the same time. But that's basically what we do as well. I'm part of the Young Dems. That's the extension of the Low Country Young Dems. I also did the Clyburn Fellowship. I know you have mentioned that. I was class of 2021, so I'm very familiar with certain things that you were talking about. Which is a great experience because it also taught me how to build myself as a leader and how to develop the message, because that is exactly what we're trying to focus on as we get out there talking to people. You know, we want them to vote, but we got to motivate them to vote. Like, what's going to push them to actually leave their house to go vote? What's going to push them to want to put a name on the ballot and to know that their voices matter? And so as someone from the Low Country, this is something that I actively am involved in. I am what you call a homegrown advocate. Like, I have no problem putting on my shoes out. You might see me in Crocs, you know, but I am out that door the minute someone calls me and they tell me something is just not sitting right in the community. And I'm at your city council meetings, I'm at the county council meetings. I have no problem being present because one thing you're not going to do is silence me. One thing I'm not going to do is let someone else make the decision for me. If the end result isn't my result, best believe I'm going to be a part of that solution. I'm going to be part of the conversation. I'm not going to be in the dark, and I'm going to ask questions. Why are we doing this? Who said that we should be doing this? Who agreed on that? And who thought that that was realistic for what is needed now? And my role as the third vice chair is to work on youth engagement. And that's just my jam, because as the chair of the Low Country, my demographic is 18 to 40 years old. So I'm constantly doing outreach, constantly doing callbacks, follow-ups, TikToks, reels, I'm doing all of that. So it came just naturally for me when he placed me in that role. And I'm also working on the messaging, which I think is very important, because the youth are the future. It's like we definitely encourage everyone to vote, but when we make decisions, we're making decisions for the next generation. We got to make decisions for obviously the present, but we're trying to set the next generation up for success. And with that being said, in order to do that, we got to get the next generation involved. We got to get them not just a seat at the table, but part of the conversation. And so that is my advocacy as far as like, why am I running? Why am I here? Why am I on the Zoom right now talking to y'all? Because I'm very passionate about my drive, about moving South Carolina forward. Look, y'all can tell in my voice, I'm really excited to be here. But thank you guys.
keep that enthusiasm.
Yes.
And I love the conversation that's going on in the chat for those that are joining on the phone and can't see the chat. Kat Kennedy said, I heard someone say that when they go low, we go high. And that message seemed to have stuck. And I happen to be very privileged to hear Michelle Obama say that in person because I was a delegate in Philadelphia when she said that. And I agree. Brandon then had some things to say about fighting back. I'm going to put it this way. One of my peer county party chairs, when we were talking about messaging, she said, when they go low, we can go high, but let's just take them out at the knees before we go high. So we do have to formulate that good message and not just be shrinking violets, even though we take a moral and an ethical high ground. Just because you take the moral and ethical high ground doesn't mean that you don't get your hands dirty sometimes. So great comments, and I would hope, Erica, that all of the Forward Together, South Carolina Forward Together group comes on April the 17th and continue this introduction. So with that said, I do want to cover a couple of small things of business. One thing is my roommate, Chris, was only planning on being secretary for a short period of time, and he has resigned as secretary. I have had a conversation with a party member. He's not on the call tonight, but I'm going to continue to have that conversation. So hopefully by our executive committee meeting in March, we can vote on a new secretary. And if any of you have any ideas of people that would like to be secretary, please reach out and let me know, because if it falls apart, this conversation falls apart, I want to have backups. And with that said, another request that was made is that at our meetings that we give the treasurer updates. We don't do formal treasurer reports except at executive committee meetings, but I definitely don't have a problem with Kat giving a summary report when we have these informational meetings. So Kat, are you available for a report?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. Hey, everybody. Y'all know my saying. I didn't get a chance to say it at the beginning of the meeting, but that still does not take away my enthusiasm for saying I'm fired up, ready to go. So let's move on with this treasury report. Currently in the bank, we have $10,456.16. That is in the general operating account. For the fundraising account, it's $131.58. Anything else you want me to say, Chris? I know that you had started out talking about the online store, but I didn't know if you were going to table that until the next meeting or what you.
That is.
Excuse me. This is at Abby Cook.
Hold on just a minute, Abby.
Okay. Is there any way we can get a full report, a full treasury report?
Yes, that's the question I was going to ask.
Oh, thank you. I'm glad I'm not by myself. Okay, thank you.
We have full treasurer reports at executive committee meetings. This is only an informational meeting. So, out of a courtesy to the person that made the request, yes, it's absolutely within all of your rights to know how much we have in the bank, which is why I asked Kat to be ready for this this report tonight. But yes, a full treasurer report will be available at the March executive committee meeting.
What's that date?
I have one question. Before I got to get off and get on another meeting. I have one question. In that full report, it shows all of your expenses, what's been done for. I mean, because we enter a new year now, so I'm quite sure you've tallied out the end of last year, 2022. So in y'all reports, do y'all budget out everything that has been spent out, and due to the fact of what is left in the account now? Does that show all your expenses for the year because we're in a new year now?
Yes, Kat will have and one of her things that she's definitely wanted to do as an accountant is give a more itemized treasurer report than what those of us who have done the job in the past have done. So yeah, I believe that is Kat's intent to give a more I guess thorough treasurer report. Is that correct, Kat?
Yeah, that is correct. Like I said, it's been since September since we had a treasury report, and just didn't want to leave people in the dark, not knowing what's going on with the money, where it is, where we started and where we are today. So I just, when I took on this role, that was my promise to people, was to be transparent and let everybody know and keep everybody in the loop on what was going on. And that's what I would like to continue to do.
Right. And part of the reason we had so many executive committee, not to get in the party rules weeds, but I mean it's important when we're talking about money. Part of the reason it's been so long, we had so many business meetings in the first part of last year that we're only required by party bylaws to have four executive committee meetings a year. And I think we just about had, it was like 5 or 6 within the first part of last year. I'd have to go back and look. But yes, that's why we haven't traditionally in informational meetings given that information. But yes, with such a long time in between, it was a very valid request that came in, and I have no problem with giving a summary report at every monthly meeting. And then, of course, like I said, in our March meeting will be an executive committee meeting where we vote. on business and where that treasurer report would be presented.
Thank you, Chris, for that information.
No problem.
Very, very important.
And speaking of those things, we did get started this last year. We had a couple meetings with a group on rules and guidelines, rules and bylaws, whatever you want to call them, and that just the air got let out of that project. So one of my first things in the next coming weeks is going to be reach out, make sure the guy that is chairing that he wants to still chair it and get those going, because I want us to get those rules and guidelines published as quickly as we possibly can, hopefully by the summer. The 2024 strategic plan, again, I'll probably start the strategic plan working with the officers. There's some templates and things that I've got to that I've stolen from other county parties to help, so we're not recreating the wheel for everything. But I want to get our strategic plan published by the summertime, because again, if you heard the way I began the meeting, I'm already thinking 2024. So I want to make sure that we have a firm idea of where we're going in 2024 before the second half of this year. October. I really think having our big fundraising event or whatever big event for Lexington County benefits, number one, now from being first in the nation. And if we position ourselves in the beginning of October, that's when the campaigns are going to have the most money that they can hopefully donate to us. And ready for some more barbecue. Yeah, Lee, but this time I think, thank you, Sandra. Good to see you. This time we may go a little different route. David Stewart had an idea last year of a chili cook-off, and I really like that idea. There's nothing like that in the Midlands that I know of around that same time when there's a lot of barbecue and fish fry events. So just know in the next coming weeks, we will be I'll be reaching out to everyone asking if they want to be involved with a planning committee for that October event. Marcurius?
Just our Young Dems like executive board just had like a strategy meeting this past weekend. And one of the things we were looking to do to have the Central Midlands Young Dems do is do kind of a signature chili cook-off barbecue event as well, is what they decided. So I was wondering if that would be something y'all would be willing to possibly partner with, if the rest of the Young Dems would be in on that.
Absolutely, because I know that your challenge is going to be our challenge, and that's building up the infrastructure, the base, the participation, the financial backing, all of that kind of stuff. So yeah, I think that my vision is that the Ice House Theater, the first weekend of October every year, is real big known Lexington chili cook-off. And if it's Lexington and Young Dems of the Central Midlands, I welcome that. So more will come out about that as we get some details together. Again, I'll be looking for a committee to help plan that. the next little
And
item.
Chris, can I make a suggestion, or have this is Sue Taylor again? Can I raise a question, please? I guess it's a question.
Yeah.
Okay, what I think, maybe it's not, and I get confused about the structure of the party. You know, who are the executive board people? Who are the officers? Who are the district leaders or the precinct leaders? Is it possible to draw up an identification plan, or whatever is the better word, to identify the people who are working with us? You know, who are the district leaders? You know, who are the officers? What is the structure of this committee, of this organization? Is that possible?
Yes, and actually, our structure for this year is still what I mailed to you last year. Um, Once we vote, basically we're in place for 2 years. But yes, I will republish all of that information, and definitely
With the
when
names on it, so we know who's what.
right.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
When we publish a formal strategic plan, that kind of information is definitely something I see as a good appendix for. I know people might not want their personal information published, but at least if you know names, I can
Good as the
publish.
names, right?
I can publish
And maybe a
contact.
telephone number.
Yeah, I can publish that contact information in a different means. So,
There was a lot of good things happened tonight. You know, and I'm not asking for minutes, but I just think a party structure for me would be helpful.
right,
And
right.
again, I offer to make phone calls. I don't get out, but I can certainly make phone calls.
Absolutely, and I do appreciate that. And that it actually segues into my next topic, how we conduct our meetings. Um, like Brandon said earlier, I think these hybrid meetings are very important because, yeah, Miss Sue, you and Paula and Miss Oni, I don't know if she's still on here. Um,
I am here.
I haven't seen you guys in person in forever, but I don't want you guys to get out and get the flu or get COVID. I want you to stay healthy. And not only that, we often have things that conflict. Matter of fact, this chairs meeting that we just had, I asked if there was a Zoom component because I didn't think I was going to have transportation to get there. So there are definitely good arguments to keep these hybrid meetings going on. We need to come up with a way when we have business meetings like in next March or this coming March, how we conduct voting, because that's the difficult part. These kinds of meetings, easy. A business meeting, it's been a little bit of a challenge with the voting and stuff, making motions and all of that when people are at home and people are also online in the building. But I'm gonna call our first officers meeting here soon. Got to get with my officers to see when a date would be, and that's a question I'm gonna ask them to come up with some ideas to help come up with a process to have an executive committee meeting where we conduct voting, and we leave the meetings hybrid like this, because my opinion is the more accessible our meetings are, the better. We've mentioned the web store a couple times. Just quickly, it costs $40 a month. $40 a month to host that web store. So it's not that expensive But if we have zero sales coming in, it gets to be a little, it doesn't make much sense. But in the past, everybody said, well, do we have t-shirts? Do we have this? Do we have that? That was the attempt of the web store to put something in place where we would have that. Um, do you guys and gals out there support us still having a web store? Or because $40 a month is a lot of money if we're not going to utilize that web store for what it could be.
Chris, this is Abby Cook. If
Mhm.
we're not making any money from it, I suggest that we just close it down.
I
I agree with that. I'm going to make a motion. Motion.
Would someone make a motion that we close it down?
I'll make a motion.
That was just an informal question, but there's been there's been enough feedback that yes, we will pull the plug on that, and if we see we get to where we want to do it again, we will do it again. So yes, we will do that. No need for a motion or a vote. And finally,
Mr. Chairperson, this is Miss Only. I have a question.
Okay.
How much do these Zoom meetings cost us?
Zoom cost roughly, I'd have to go look at the exact charge, but roughly $15 or $16 a month. So it's really not that much.
One more thing.
Miss Catherine, please repeat the current balance.
I believe
Treasurer, are you still on the line?
I believe she dropped from the call. She had some other business going on tonight.
Okay. Well, can you share that with us?
But yes, I will get with her. I'm like you. I didn't write it down when she shared it. I will get with her to share that balance with you, Miss Oni.
Okay.
Well, you can do it by email.
All right.
No, that might not be wise.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. The last thing on my agenda, and then we, unless there's other business or discussion, I wanted to talk about our logo. Those that are on Zoom, or on camera, not on the phone, can see I've got 3 logos up right now. The logo that we use right now is a combination of the logo with Lexington County forming the words Lexington County, South Carolina Democratic Party, forming a circle around an outline of Lexington County with a donkey in the middle. When we created the web store, there was a t-shirt with a palmetto tree, Lexington in a script with Democrat down at the bottom. And when I saw that, I was like, I really like that as a logo. I think it's new, it's modern, it's fresh. And I wanted some feedback from you all. What do you think about that? It looks similar to the SCDP logo without being the SCDP logo. What do you all think about that?
Chris, I like it. It's simple.
Okay.
It's a simple message.
I like it as well.
And it's clean.
Okay.
Jeremy.
Well, I know when I originally published the web store, Randy Harrell and I were talking, and we had the same discussion. We both thought it was nice, clean, um, new, modern, and but I wanted some feedback. And what I will do is between now and our next meeting, I will try to reproduce this logo, and we'll vote on it as an executive committee. But I didn't want to spend time recreating this logo if most of us really wanted just to stay with the old logos. Um, but I will put some time into that, and we will present both of them at our March meeting. So, okay. Have a good evening, Abby.
And when is the next meeting? I thought it was April. When is the next meeting date again?
The next meeting is,
I thought April.
March.
I'm gonna give you the exact date. It is March the 20th at 6:30.
March the 20th.
And it will have the same Zoom call-in information.
Excellent. Thank you.
And yeah, Kat texted me her battery on her computer died, so she did drop. So any other questions? Yes, Richard, that's oh, I see it's a direct, but I'll come up with a list like that for you.
You know, I had developed a fly. I thought it was a good idea to have a flyer that said what the Democratic Party means, what a Democrat. And somebody, I forgot who worked with me on developing that flyer. It went nowhere. It went nowhere. But let me mail it to you. I'm sure I have a copy of it. You know, for discussion. Anyhow, I just think it would be a nice thing. Again, I'm talking about expanding the base for people to know what the Democratic Party means. You know, what does the Lexington Democratic Party mean? You know,
Right.
a simple kind of thing that we can respond to that. Because people ought to know. People ought to know.
Right, I agree. And actually, I hate that I went on so long without mentioning Dale Bear, the president of BIC, was on with us earlier. I met with the leadership of BIC. I think it was back in December, and a couple of them are gonna um, adopt some of our precincts that have no representation and send postcards and things like that. And that was part of our discussion that day when I met with them, is maybe coming up with a budget. I don't know if it's monthly, if it's quarterly, but have a flyer or have a little memo. Hey, did you know that Democrats paid for this? Or, you know, something to that effect, Miss Sue.
Right.
So we definitely are on the same page there.
I'll look up the copy that I had and mail it to you. You know, for discussion. Because somebody went to a lot of trouble to type it up. I forget who it was, but it was nice.
Yeah, Macaulay.
I think it was Dave and only.
Okay, but anyhow, I'll have to look for it and see where it is.
That was the construction.
Yeah. So, and Macaulay put in the chat that part of the web store problem might be our website traffic. Yeah, I try to tie everything I can into our back to our website. But if our website doesn't get a lot of traffic, then it doesn't bubble up in the Google universe, and people don't find it to click on it and stuff like that. So yeah, there is a lot of problem with stuff like that. Choosing candidates. Yeah, I don't is yeah, Laurie is still on here. I'm right there with you about quality candidates, people on the ballot. We really have to figure that out. And I do like Richard's approach of try to pick a race we think we can win, so at least the Lexington Democratic Party can have a moral victory as we continue to build some of these strategic plans. Anything else? Well, if there's nothing else, I'm gonna adjourn.
I move adjournment.
Yeah, I'm gonna adjourn. I do
If
think.
there's nothing else, I move adjournment.
Absolutely. So I hope to see you all either in person or virtually in March. And if you've got any ideas, just send me an email, chair@lexcodems.org. So, all right. You all have a good evening.
Thank you. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.